Welcome back to the channel. It's been a little bit. I'm actually in my country home in the mountains of North Carolina, and I didn't plan to be here this long, so I actually didn't bring my camera and lighting or anything like that. So I just ordered a webcam and one light here just so I could do an update and do a new video. So in today's video, I want to basically do a portfolio update on the Composer account and the Schwab account, which is nearing the 1 million mark, as well as showcase that Composer itself did $1 billion in trading volume in July, which to me is mind blowing because I remember several years ago when there was 10 accounts, I was one of the 10, and we could only trade single symphonies, and we had to sync it with Alpaca. And it's just amazing the sheer growth. I mean, they announced several months ago that they crossed 1 million in AUM, but in July they crossed 1 billion in trading volume. So I wouldn't be surprised if they make that 200 million announcement fairly soon. But yeah, so let's start with that actually. Let's get just go to LinkedIn here, and just we'll get this. Let's reduce this. Yeah, so this is their LinkedIn. We are thrilled to share that Composer achieved over 1 billion in monthly trading volume for July. This milestone is a testament to the trust and support of our community. Curious about what sets us apart? Sign up at composer.trade and see how automated trading can transform your portfolio. So there you have it. That is that. And let's go wider here. And let's get into the nuts and bolts of it. So let's start here with Composer, and let's bring this down just a little bit here. Yeah, right there is good. Perfect. Yep. So 30% for the year. So it's been quite an amazing year thus far in Composer. Obviously, anything can change, anything can happen in financial markets, cue long-term capital management. But it's been an amazing run with Composer. The Wall Street Journal article touched upon how in 2023, I did approximately 33%, and I'm at basically the 30% or so this year. So it's been an amazing run since Composer launched. Very happy about that. But having said that, I want to talk about what I feel sets me apart, perhaps from other Composer users that I observe and interact with, specifically on a Discord channel. And my Composer strategy is what I call the Rip Van Winkle. And a lot of times people will tinker and tweak their strategies in downturns because they never really believed in the logic in the first place, or they figured they just can't deal with the drawdown, so they maybe reduce some leverage, so on and so forth. I rarely, if ever, tweak. The only time I really tweaked my algos or my symphonies is really when I felt that I had a little bit too much UVXY exposure on the overbought signal when it went from TQQQ into UVXY, and I had about at the time I think 60%, and it just something I wasn't comfortable with. So I did make some changes in a certain amount of symphonies, replaced it with BIL to reduce. When that happens, it should be about 35, 40-ish. So I'm a little more comfortable with. But I made a heck of a lot of money in UVXY. Had I kept it, this probably would be at 34, 35%, and this would be flirting with 400,000. I don't regret that though. It just takes a little bit of risk and agita, if you will, off the table. So you can see Jerome Powell talked about rate cuts today, so a big up day. But what I want to talk about is kind of back to the non-tweaking of symphonies and the volatility that I've had to endure to attain these type of results. Even last year through November, I wasn't doing so well. It was really the month of December that I mean, I was doing okay. I'd have to look back to see what I was, but I wasn't at 30% at that time, and so It was really that last month where it allowed me to attain that type of result. So you can see here, this is, I reopened this account January 11th because I had to transfer due to trader tax status. And you can see here, right there. So I went from 290 to about, let's bring it here. Let's see if it's a little slow doing this, but let's see if I can get it to jump. There we go. So I went from 290 cost basis, which means, by the way, 290 cost basis, that means I've made $86,000 thus far this year, which is great. But you can see I peaked at like 318, but then I went down to 276 here. So I went all the way from 318 to 276. And this is when a lot of people would have panic attacks, group therapy sessions, tweaking of algorithms, because they've lost, what, 45,000 or so, $45,000 like that. So, but I did nothing. Rip Van Winkle. So you can see the recovery here. And then it happened again. You can see right around here, it kind of peaked. I think this is around July 15th. Right about here. Let's see, that was probably around July 15th or so. Yeah, it was at 372, kind of where I am now. I'm a little bit higher now. But many people, when it goes from 372 all the way down, and my computer's a little slow. There we go. 372 down to 315 fairly quickly, but at 315, instead of liquidating at the opening or liquidating symphonies or over editing symphonies, I did nothing. I sat on my hands and gardened. So now you can see here it peaked at, looks like 379 is the peak, so I'm approaching that. That 30, 379 down to 366, and we're back up, 376 today. So again, couldn't be happier with my Composer investments. I mean, who wouldn't be happy with nearly a 30% return and a 33 last year? So you can see the leaders this year, as they were last year, are generally a series of beta ballers and Manhattan projects. You can see this particular Manhattan project doubled, more than doubled. And this is a particular beta baller, another Manhattan. This is a private symphony Wishcasters. You got the T triple Q for the long term, one of the permutations, another permutation, Manhattan, beta, T triple Q, another private, beta baller, so on and so forth. So, yeah, and my strategy is akin to a gentleman named Garen Phillips, who actually founded the Discord that focuses on Composer. And he also has a similar philosophy. He likes to run many symphonies as well. I think I'm at 116. And I feel that having that amount of symphonies, it will reduce cumulative return to a certain extent. Like there's some people that are probably at maybe 40, 45, 50%. But I feel in big sell-offs, it'll reduce drawdowns because I don't have as much single ticker exposure, because some symphonies, if you're running 5 symphonies and each one is going into one ticker, let's say, and some of those agree and they're similar, you might hold 2 tickers. And when you hold 2 tickers, things can go awry. I know one gentleman who was having a great year, and just one day, his return went from like 20% or like 10, 15%, and then he was negative 10%. So he was running maybe 2 symphonies. And so again, that's just my philosophy. It doesn't mean that it's the right one. It doesn't mean that in time it will prove to be the most profitable or the highest overall portfolio sortino. I think it'll do quite well though, as it's done, but time will tell. So, and you can see holdings, for example. Actually, so this is another thing I want to talk about. So there was a gentleman named D-Pods who created an extension that showed the aggregate holdings in the symphonies, as well as he has a find and replace button, which is super helpful. The reason the find and replace button is super helpful is because sometimes a ticker will be retired, And the thing is, your Symphony won't trade if that ticker is still in the logic. So the thing is, some of these Symphonies, the logic is really loaded, if you want to use that term, or long involved, and so it's a difficult process to try to locate every appearance of that particular ticker. So to find a replace, you can find it very quickly and replace it, and you're back online with that Symphony. But the aggregate holdings, and his aggregate holdings, actually, when I saw that how much actually I was holding of UVXY and the overall portfolio, that caused me to make the change from UVXY to BIL in certain Symphonies. Had I not had his extension, I may not have seen that. I may not have done it. Again, if I hadn't done it, I'd probably be wealthier today by about $10,000. But Composer, I think, saw his extension and added it. So now with Symphonies, you can go to Holdings. So let's click that, see if it jumps over. There we go. So you can see I have 90 total holdings. Again, there's some people that are running 3 or 4 Symphonies. Maybe they're holding 3 tickers, 4 tickers. I run a lot of TQQQ for the long term, different permutations of that. You can see that, I have about 34% in TQQQ, so it shows the percentages. And of the 116 Symphonies, 61 of them have some weighting of TQQQ. TMF that's in a lot of the beta ballers. TECL is similar to TQQQ. Then I have UPRO. I have some cash here, SHV, 16,000, semiconductor, some real estate, SPY, NVIDIA, so on and so forth. So when you expand here, like let's take SPY. You see it's in 8 Symphonies. It's 1.1% of my portfolio. This is what its current price is. This is the total value, but I can actually click right here and it shows me the particular Symphonies that SPY is present in, and it shows the holding value and the percent of that Symphony. So you can see like Dippy Cutie, that's a Garen Phillips, that's an old school Garen Phillips Slack channel Symphony. So that one is 99.9% SPY. So it's basically, that's a little bit of cash that hasn't allocated in that Symphony. And you can also see this other one here. So this is Michael B. This is one of the first masters or amoebas or blobs. I still run it. And I joke with people, I basically say, some people say, oh, why do you run so many Symphonies? It's too many, and so on and so forth. And for me personally, I collect Symphonies like other people collect stamps or gold coins. Some of them are going to do phenomenally over time, and some may not. But just something I personally enjoy. I guess I'm a Symphony junkie, if you will. So, anyways, so that's their new release, which is very, very cool. And obviously, if they start crossing 200 million in AUM and they start averaging $1 billion in trading value, or trading volume, I wouldn't be surprised if they continue to release these type of enhancements to the software, which is great. So we are still, we're just hanging in that 29 to 30% range today, up about 2.26. I would love to cross 400,000 for the year. We'll see. As the late great Jack Bogle said, no one knows nothing. So a lot of people have opinions. The market's going to do this. The market's going to do that. The Fed's going to do this, so on and so forth. But we'll see. So not too far off from. If I hit the 400, then I'd make 110,000 in profit. So wouldn't be a bad year at all. And I'm flirting with that $1 million I have other accounts, but this is my main 2. So let's go over here. Just before I sign off, I wanted to show this. Now this is interesting. So you can see my and I call this my vanilla account, if you will, because I don't run a lot of leverage ETFs. It's kind of buy and hold index ETFs generally, but I am converting it somewhat into an income-based portfolio. So with my option strategy, what I'm doing is I'm taking my option premium and I'm buying a lot of income-based things like BDCs, mortgage REITs, covered call ETFs. Um, I had a goal to get the average income over 2,000, and right now, but anyways, just so you can see it, 15.4, and so Composer's double that basically. But still, year-to-date change, so if Composer is up 86 and this is up 80, up 160 for the year, again, a great 2024. But if you go to investment income, that's what I wanted to showcase. By taking my option premium, buying income, you can see that, next 12 months, I would be averaging 2,500. You can see this month, let's actually go 2024. So this is, you can see this month of August, I've made over $4,300 in dividends. And I have about 250 left, it's saying. So that would put me at 4,500 in income this month. Phenomenal. I mean, eventually, when I sell some of my real estate holdings, because maybe I don't want to be bothered with the day-to-day management, this Grant Cardone and others have noted, tenants, toilets, termites. Just being able to have this account at maybe 3, 4, 5, 6,000, kind of replacing a real estate income, replacing a job, and then allowing Composer just to continue to be more growth oriented and volatile and so on and so forth. So yeah, that's kind of the plan between the two. But yeah, that's pretty much it for today. It's been a while. Again, I'm up here in the beautiful mountains of North Carolina. I'm actually planting a blueberry orchard. I have 1,200 blueberry bushes on order for October. So so that's in process. So I'm prepping the hillside with ammonium sulfate and sulfur to acidify the soil. And my aim is, in addition to this property being an Airbnb, at some point I'd like to open it up as a blueberry U-pick. It kind of jibes with that saying, make your money on Wall Street, bury it on Main Street. So kind of like a brick and mortar, type of business, if you will, agricultural, agritourism. So a lot different than the stock market. But if I keep compounding capital at 30%, honestly, it's silly to do anything else. And it's not saying I will. It's a diversification out of that, and it's beautiful and so on and so forth. But I mean, if you find a way to compound capital at, above 15%, it's hard to match that. And if you start doing that above 25%, you're going to be quite wealthy after 8, 10, 12 years. So anyways, that is that for today. I appreciate I get a lot of private messages on the Discord and my email and stuff. I appreciate all that feedback. So yeah, take care. Ciao.